Okay, so tonight, as I said, we're going to look at Perfect Brilliant Stillness by David Carse. And I'll read this now. Oh, just a minute. I always forget my other class. A wonderful book. I highly recommend it. Okay.
What chapter are you reading, Evie?
This is chapter 48 on page 359.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So much worrying, so much anxiety, unrest, all the billions of body-mind organisms trying, longing, hoping, striving, struggling. Hardly one is free of that inner crying out, that quiet fear, dukkha, suffering. It is the way of all the earth. Many times I say that the understanding, this teaching, is not about comfort, not about helping the ego feel safe and comfortable. Self-realization is annihilation, pure and simple. The truth is that you are not. There can be no question of the you being comforted, and that is true. This is not about comfort, but about truth. If truth is to be known, the individual self is not to be comforted, but totally lost, annihilated, dissolved. There is no other way. There is no way to wake up while staying comfortably asleep. Comforting, stabilizing, strengthening the sense of individual self can only lead to prolonging the suffering. The sense of individual self looking for comfort must always be frustrated, always come up empty, for it is not. And yet, if only once, only for a moment, there could be letting go, if there could be that pop of the shift in focus and the individual self seen beyond, seen for what it is, an echo, a rainbow, a phantom, and a dream, then there is something. Then the individual self is gone and needs no comforting. The individual self was simply a thought, an idea, a false imagination that cried out for comforting. When the true nature of things is seen, apperceived, then there comes something far beyond comfort, though there is nothing any longer that needs it. It is seen that what one is all that is. And that is the constant outpouring of love beyond love, beauty beyond beauty, compassion, bliss, gratitude, glory, wonder, perfection, streaming, outpouring beyond comprehension. All that is described as Satchit Ananda, not a being, but being itself, existence itself, not a thing existing. This is pure awareness, pure consciousness. Being, which is consciousness, is absolute, perfect, knows no bounds, and spills out in itself, uncontained, is always everything, everywhere. This spilling out, this outpouring of being consciousness as itself is all of this universe, planet, worlds of senses and ideas, worlds of things and non-things, these bodies, these minds, these trees, roads, houses, squirrels, insects, telephones, all of this, everything, everywhere, is not as it appears, as some solid, separate material stuff. The physicists will tell you this. Look closely enough, and this body or this table are not solid substance, but are composed of molecules, then atoms, then subatomic particles, which themselves are not particles at all, but moments of energy. I am telling you that this energy, which everything is what you are, is consciousness, being, outpouring itself in itself. I want to read that again. I'm telling you that this energy, which everything is what you are, is consciousness, being, outpouring itself in itself. This is what is called Ananda, because the very nature of consciousness, outpouring in itself, is perfect love, beauty, completion, bliss. This streaming is what is perceived as all this crazy world, including the body-mind you think is you. But in truth, when seen as it is, this is not you. This car is not a car. These groceries are not groceries. These are all pure love, light, consciousness, bliss, streaming here. This is obvious. It is seen here always. And once seen, it cannot not be seen. It is inexpressible. There is no way I can communicate this without sounding like a blathering nutcase or like the Dr. Bronner's bottle. But it is true. All is well. All is so incredibly well. Everyone is asleep and does not see it. And so they lead, quote, lives of quiet desperation, close quote, lives of anxiety and fear. But those few who are awake and see it, witness life being lived in constant, total amazement. And since everything is literally made out of pure love, beyond love, streaming, since this pure love beyond love is the stuff out of which is made everything that we perceive as creation. How then can anything, the smallest thing, not be well? Everything, the smallest thing, is God, is self with a capital S, is your own true nature, and the true nature of all that is pure awareness, pure love, outpouring as itself. The human race truly has no idea what love is. I cannot give comfort to the individual self that seeks it. Perhaps in some limited way others can, telling stories here in the dream that bring some fictitious comfort to these fictitious selves. But when there can be total letting go of that idea of being a separate self, then what is seen is the love, compassion, bliss that you are, and that the slightest thing is. If nothing else, trust me on this, there is no way anything at all cannot be well. All is perfection, pure bliss, love outpouring. Any perceptions to the contrary are simply not true. All is well, totally. So it always seems to come back to this ability to let go of the me. And that's very frightening. And it seems to also point back to choiceless awareness, so that there is an awareness every time this me is in action, is acting. He says the individual self was simply a thought, an idea, a false imagination that cried out for comforting. The individual self seen beyond, seen for what it is, an echo, a rainbow, a phantom, and a dream. I just want to read one more paragraph on toward the end of another chapter. He says, do the work you need to do. Find the help you need to find. What form this will take is not up to you. Nothing is. It will happen if there is openness, if there is consent, if there is surrender. Instead of looking outwards, look within. Whatever is not present in deep sleep does not exist. Gurus and teachings and various behaviors are not there in deep sleep, nor are satsangs and seminars and books like this. What are you doing? Invite silence, stillness. Don't waste your time doing anything other than being silent, being still within. Anything which is yourself with the small s, the me, is illusion, not true, does not matter. And it is this that you project outward onto the blank screen without. Anything which is out there is illusion, not true, does not matter. Let yourself be emptied of this. Let there be emptiness. Let yourself be ripped open, hollowed out, gutted. Be aware that what form this will take is not up to you, and that it may take time, it may take a lifetime, it may take more than a lifetime. It doesn't matter. Let yourself be brought to a place where it doesn't matter. In stillness, find yourself asking the dangerous question, the question that the ego does not want you to think of, the question that will end your life, your psychological life. Let yourself be brought to a place where it is no longer necessary to find someone to blame, either yourself or another, where that need for specialness no longer destroys you, where it is no longer necessary or possible to turn away from yourself with the capital S and look outside of yourself to label what is wrong or right, where it is not possible to look outside yourself to see what is. Looking outside continues the dream. Only looking within, relentlessly deep within, past and prior to the superfluous levels, intellect and reason and emotion and feeling and psyche and subconscious, to what you are. Only this can lead to the awakening, which itself has nothing to do with either without or within. Wake up. Let yourself be emptied. Whatever is not present in deep sleep does not exist. And he says, all is well. All is well. What do you think of this outpouring? All that is pure awareness, pure love, outpouring as itself, in itself. What about there is no other way? There is no way to wake up while staying comfortably asleep. If truth is to be known, the individual self is not to be comforted, but totally lost, annihilated, dissolved.
Um, the visual image that I always get when I hear him speak about the outpouring, which is all there is you know, when you see a fountain bubbling up, a fountain just bubbling up and the water cascading in no particular form, in a bubbling up. And if you just see the fountain, you don't worry about the source or where it comes from. It seems, you know, like the perpetual flame, like they say, is like on certain graves of the soldiers, they have a, I forget the name of it. Whatever, it's constant, ever. And so this outpouring of consciousness bubbles up, and those bubbles are all the myriad forms of existence, like he says.
Yes. Oh,
From-
that's
right?
an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's why he said.
And there's no beginning to it, and there's
No.
no end to it. It just is.
Right. This spilling out, this outpouring of being consciousness as itself is all of this universe, planet, worlds of senses and ideas, worlds of things and non-things, these bodies, these minds, these trees, roads, houses, squirrels, insects, telephones.
Yeah.
All of this, everything, everywhere. And it's not as it appears, as some solid, separate material stuff, but it's composed of molecules and atoms and some atomic particles, which themselves are all but moments of energy. And this is what you are. Consciousness, being, outpouring itself in itself. Consciousness, pure awareness, outpouring itself in itself. You know, there's no way we can understand that with our mind. It's something that you kind of sense in your heart. And even then, because we really have no frame of reference for this. And yet, it feels like it's true. It feels like the truth. So what about all the things that we feel so much that matter? Especially I was going to say silly thing, you know, the non-essential things that we make such a big deal about.
Well, the mattering of non-essential things comes from the self, which is illusory. I think what you said earlier is it comes down to, you know, disidentifying, cracking through the identification with my image of myself, with this sense of the me, and yes, and a way to do that is through the choiceless awareness, trying to stay present, to catch the identification each time it arises and not automatically go with it.
Especially now when we're not in a place of emergency or tragedy. This is the time, this is the now to catch that me at work and to pull the plug on it each moment. Would you say?
Well, the tragedies are all a part.
What do you mean?
Natural calamities, disasters, plagues, epidemics, fires,
Accidents.
collapsing buildings.
Yes.
It's all part of the unfolding.
Well, he would say it's all part of this dream.
Yes, yes, absolutely. All part of the dream. Right. Have we lost you all? How did this fall on your ears?
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm here. They, they,
Good, good.
they look like they're moving. I can see some animations happening. But Paul, was it Eternal Flame? Was that the name of what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, the eternal, yeah.
I think it's interesting. He said false imagination.
Mhm.
Sort of differentiating it from imagination. And I think when Evie, you were saying there's no way to understand this in a way other than this beingness, which is our just our natural state, really. So I think there's no way to intellectually grasp this.
That's right. That's right.
But I think just if we I think we've been taught to sort of shore up our sense of reality through the intellect. And I think if we're willing to relinquish that process or that procedure, then it's just kind of like we're back in that realm of being childlike, where we can just experience, that beingness of, and just experience this wonderful, play before ourselves.
Yes.
Great reading. Thank you.
Innocence, Chip, right?
Yeah, innocence.
Just being being innocence, being innocence.
Yep.
I got a lot out of it, Evelyn. It was wonderful to hear you read it. I turned my camera off because I'm painting my office, and I've never gotten more out of a reading. For some reason, if I'm drawing or something and I'm hearing somebody speak, it hits deeper. I don't know if it's ADD or trauma or just the way things work, but I've heard the entire Terrence Stamp thing, which is beautiful, but he's got nothing on you. I really enjoyed your recitation of this. It was got a lot out of it. So thank you.
Good. But he does do a magnificent reading.
It's good. Yeah. Well, Terrence, as I've mentioned to Dr. Moschetta, Terrence was the one that told me about John Wheeler and Nisargadatta.
Good.
Which was his teacher, Krishnamurti and Nisargadatta were his teachers. He left show business to go there to meet them.
That was
temporarily.
Yes.
Sucked back in, but
yeah.
When when you do these readings, I don't want to suggest that I'm immune to the level of ingestion that happens in a kind of an instinctive way that bypasses the intellect.
Oh, I think, Bill, we lost you again. We lost you.
Okay, maybe he'll come back.
Find the help that you need.
Bill,
Yeah.
we lost you just as you were starting to say beyond the intellect.
Do you have me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I was forgetting all that. What I really appreciate about this, what we heard tonight, is that the author clearly said, find the help that you need. And that's the kind of a comment that I personally look for,
Yes.
because he's also talking about the personal experience or state of being that helps you go to look for the help you need. And the only one he left out was desperation. For some of us who are kind of thick-headed, desperation is our best friend. And we don't know that until we go in the direction that desperation is pushing us. And it's a desire to be free of pain. And I'm not talking about a broken bone necessarily, but pain at an extremely deep level.
Yes. Yes.
That is almost paralyzing.
Yes.
And yet it's that pain that gives rise to the desperation to seek the help that you need. And so I especially appreciate someone who is functioning on a much higher level of abstraction than I do, to come down to where I'm peeling potatoes and shining my shoes, and says, find the help that you need.
Right. You know, and he says, what form this will take, finding the help you need, what form this will take is not up to you. Nothing is. It will happen. It will happen. If there is openness, if there is consent, if there is surrender. And you know, then the help finds you. Don't you think? It
I think there's
you don't have to go look for it.
but I think there's something that's predicated here. And the role that awareness plays. You know, none of this happens until there's an awareness that you're desperate. A lot of people are desperate. They don't know they're desperate. A lot of people are hurting terribly. They don't know they're hurting. You know, and they have all kinds of ways of playing out their pain and so on and so forth. Some drink, some have sex, some do drugs, some go racing fast cars, other people gamble at Las Vegas, and. So to me, it's in a sense a miracle when at some point an awareness, I don't know which one, but an awareness arises that, hey, something's wrong. There's something wrong here. And, you know, I guess maybe it's coupled with taking responsibility a bit for how you feel, and then maybe trying to do something about it. I think that's a miracle.
Yeah. If you're completely immersed and lost in the dream, it's very difficult to have a glimpse beyond it. So yes, at some point, I guess all of us, everyone who comes in contact with the teaching through one way or another, has had that miracle happen where they have a sense that there is something else that calls them, aside from identified living. Living as
I
a
think
team.
it's like a disassociation from your mind. So rather than, we're always, thinking ahead of what we have to do. We have to do this, we have to do that. And I think that, what I hear him saying is that all of that is irrelevant, that if you allow yourself to have that freedom to just be aware that it will happen. You don't have to do anything. It's there. It's always there. We just can't always see it.
Right.
That's how I see it.
Mhm.
But that's the part that's tricky, is
Yes.
for the individual to be aware that it is always there.
Yeah.
And I know it now, more or less still at a somewhat level, but for a good many years of my life, I had no idea of this. I had no idea of what was behind myself, what was driving, what was creating, what was giving energy to the me. And now I'm beginning to get an understanding of it. A little bit late in the game, but none the hell, what the hell. So I think that's the part that's a little bit tricky. What is it that turns the person over? I mean, most of the world is asleep.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, turn the TV on, turn the internet on, wherever you turn, you see people that are totally asleep, in the sense that they're driven by the image of themselves or what they're trying to project of themselves.
Right.
So
Mhm.
Now, I definitely pain, emotional pain, maybe even physical pain, but certainly emotional pain has you asking questions and beginning to search. But also love itself, intense feelings of love, can also have you ask questions. What is this all about? Who am I? What is going on in this so-called life?
yeah, but I think that love arises out of once you start getting an understanding of self. Uh, I don't see that as working out. That's something that just naturally comes out. If you're bound by your ego, and you have total identification with your ego, with yourself, with the me, and that that ego has emotional problems. Those problems are going to cloud. There'll be momentary, maybe thinking of what love is. What love is, to the common conception of love, what the ego-driven love is, has got nothing to do with it. Love is really the absence of everything. When the ego is not, then there is love, and that's a long trip for a person who is bound, who has total identification with himself, to try to even get a hold of. I mean, he just. He'll think about love. Yeah, that's sex.
Yes.
Love.
Right.
It's a stimulant. It's an emotion.
Right.
And
But,
that's not what I don't think.
No,
That's
no,
not
no.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, no. I'm not talking about love in that sense. A love that's, I don't know how to describe it,
Well,
but it's like, it's your heart is full of feelings of compassion and just feelings of love. And you begin to, I know personally, this is a personal, I know that it was that feeling that had me say, and I'm using me, although there was not a sense of a me, but I'm using it because I don't know how else to say it, that had me say, now I'm ready to know God. And that began this teaching this search, and wasn't a search. It fell into my hands, literally, starting with a book from Krishnamurti called Freedom from the Known. And from there, it went on. And it's still going on. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, pain is certainly the strongest motivator. However, love can also be a motivator.
Not a love that reinforces the me.
No.
But a love that transcends it.
Yes,
That
yes.
gives a transcendent glimpse.
That's right. That's right.
A glimpse of the transcendent.
Yes. So maybe it's more compassion is the better word.
Right.
It's
Well,
just
maybe it has something to do with at some point you start seeing experiences or little glimpses. You start seeing them without the me. It's not being interpreted. It's not run through the eyes and ears of the me.
that's right.
And in a sense, it's like in a Krishnamurti sense, you're seeing it as it is. You're
Yes.
seeing what is.
Yes.
And in that state, it's beautiful and it is love because that's reality.
Mm. So
Maybe, I don't know.
yeah. But I was just going to say, I remember, and Paul, you always use this phrase about your hair on fire. How did you say that? How?
Well, it's often said that you have to have a desire to know God, to know your true self,
To know
the
your
way
true self.
a man whose hair is on fire wants water.
Right. Right.
That makes practical sense. A man who's on fire and wants water. I'm going to get a little personal. I hope I don't offend anyone, but I was an active alcoholic for 24 years. And the last moment that I drank alcohol, I was standing in a bar, and the drink was right in front of me, and I had already drunk half of it. And it was a Rob Roy, by the way, which is a bomb, as much of a bomb as a...
Oh. Can't hear you. We lost you, Bill.
I realized that's where it was over.
I'm sorry, Billy, we lost you after Rob Roy. Rob.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The experience I had was I did not make any decision in that moment. I just realized that the game was over. It was done. And it was not a thought that I created. It did not come from me. I think it came from an accumulation of experiences that were, by and large, quite distasteful and painful. And as a consequence, I left the rest of the drink.
It's a shame something happens with the audio.
And it always remains very fresh. If you do anything for 51 years, you're going to get bored. But this does not get boring because there were people in that program who steered me toward people like Vernon Howard and Krishnamurti and Karen Horney. And a whole room full of people who were laying out their experiences as a way of helping me understand what kind of help I needed.
Mhm.
And then to go there,
Mhm.
wherever it was. But I know for sure there was no conscious decision, even though I was the guy who put on his clothes and grabbed a cab and went there. There was no real decision made.
Mhm.
That's why I place such high value on the kind of desperation
Mhm.
that that kind of shatters the value or the usability of rational thought.
Mhm.
And it just tells you, put your bottom where it belongs and everything will be okay.
Mhm.
And that's why I appreciate that the one line this particular author used was, find the help that you need, because the help you need is unique to you.
Yes,
Right.
that's,
And did I cut out?
no,
No.
now you're here.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yes.
David?
David,
Hello, hello. So
hello.
after your lovely reading, there was a nice long silence. And it was an outbreak of silence and stillness that invited itself, and perhaps a little glimpse of the transcendent. There was no need to appreciate or give feedback or to try to explain, but just to be there. And then inevitably the thoughts, the chatter returns, the ego comes back, and the transcendence arrives long enough to disappear, but it's okay. We're waiting for the next outpour. There's that wonderful stillness and silence.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Kevin?
Kevin, we can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm on mute. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I had this experience as a really young child, and I mean, it was pretty young, maybe 6 or 7. I felt like something was going on that nobody was addressing. And this feeling has stayed with me, or it stayed with me until I started becoming involved in exactly what you're doing, which is, and talk about desperation. I came here tonight because talk about hair being on fire. I don't get into specifics too much. However, an online car company is trying to take me off for $14,000. And this has been going on for a month. So I'm trying to stay above that. It's not that it's not important, but it's not as important as something else, which is why I came here, basically.
Good.
That's it.
Yes. 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 Well, that's keeping in perspective what's really the principle of necessity, what's really important, what's really necessary, and what we make necessary, that probably is.
It's just the drama. It's the opera.
That's
Right.
right. That's
It's
right.
just the opera.
Exactly. Yes. It's true.
Well, letting go is, and I appreciate the fact that this author, and I've forgotten his name, I'm sorry,
David Carse.
David, is so selectively focused on the idea and the reality, if it's possible, of letting go.
Mhm.
Because the biggest thing, I can't speak for anyone else, the biggest thing I had to let go of was my idea of who I was.
Yes.
And it's very, very simplistic for me to say, well, I am the way I am because I've been conditioned this way my entire life, which relieves me of any responsibility. If I'm so deeply conditioned to be this way, I'm just a robot. I'm helpless. And that's not true. And I think one of the reasons, so as Hugo was talking about, a lot of people are walking around with a kind of a low-key hum of anxiety or feeling lost.
Yeah.
And that pain does not reach a high enough pitch to motivate them to pick up Krishnamurti or go to church or find a good psychology, counseling, whatever.
Mhm.
And that's why I don't put it in the realm of choice for me personally, that I do what's good for myself. So much as Evelyn, you were saying, there's a what is essential.
Mhm.
What comes under the heading of necessity?
Right.
And when you're in deep pain, the only thing you know is you want that to stop.
Yes.
Somebody said, go to a farm and find a cow pie and rub the manure into your hair and the pain. You're going to do that.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Well, David, I want to reinforce what you said. The silence that we all enjoyed briefly was so full
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
in itself such a gift.
Mhm.
And it's always available. Always available.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take 2 weeks off. There'll
Yeah.
be no more readings for the month of July.
And as of now, starting August 5th, Ira will be giving classes on the Ashtavarya Gita, which is a beautiful, just beautiful teaching. So, but we'll keep you all posted. And yeah,
I think everyone, Kevin, you may not know, but Ira is a friend of ours who's widely regarded as one of the most foremost scholars of Hindu traditions and the
of
spiritual
Advaita Vedanta.
of Vedanta. And he's given some classes here, and most people find it a very rewarding experience. So that's what we'll be doing in 2 weeks.
And
Awesome.
I encourage you, if you've not heard him speak, go to YouTube and you can go to our channel. I guess that's the easiest way, the Doctor's Moschetta on YouTube, and you'll see many of Ira's videos and teachings. And I strongly encourage you to listen to them.
And Ira's last name, is that important?
Shepperton.
I think I think Paul, you've mentioned
Yeah.
him before. I think you've mentioned, because I think I wrote this down once, but I have yet to hear it. So.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yes. I encourage you to do that, Kevin.
Well, so everyone have a good 2 weeks, and we'll look forward to meeting again.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
When was it?